Our study is designed to provide a neutral, in-depth analysis of the Bible and the Quran, focusing primarily on their content alone. Using artificial intelligence, our team sought to explore the similarities and differences without any human bias or external influences. The goal was for an AI model like ChatGPT to evaluate the story's language, style, and content of both texts independently and draw its own conclusions. By comparing the two texts in detail, we aimed to determine whether the AI would find signs of copying or a strong influence of the Bible on the Quran, or if it would highlight the unique features that distinguish the Quran. This approach eliminates cultural and personal biases, allowing for a logical conclusion based solely on the texts themselves. Our study is designed to provide a neutral, in-depth analysis of the Bible and the Quran, focusing primarily on their content alone. Using artificial intelligence, our team sought to explore the similarities and differences without any human bias or external influences. The goal was for an AI model like ChatGPT to evaluate the story's language, style, and content of both texts independently and draw its own conclusions. By comparing the two texts in detail, we aimed to determine whether the AI would find signs of copying or a strong influence of the Bible on the Quran, or if it would highlight the unique features that distinguish the Quran. This approach eliminates cultural and personal biases, allowing for a logical conclusion based solely on the texts themselves. The Bible is divided into the Old and New Testaments, containing various genres such as poetry, law, and prophecy. The Quran, which was revealed to Muhammad, PBUH, over 23 years, is considered the final revelation for Muslims, offering divine guidance and historical narratives. While both texts share similar stories, such as the creation story, the prophets, and moral teachings, the way these stories are told and their overall messages differ significantly. This AI-driven analysis will show how these differences reflect the unique theological perspectives of each text. Let's move on to the shared stories, but with a unique twist. AI reveals how the Quran does not merely repeat biblical stories, but reinterprets them with new meanings and perspectives. In the book of Genesis, creation happens in 6 days, and God rests on the seventh. In contrast, the Quran emphasizes God's absolute power, with no need for rest, reflecting a distinctive theological view. In the Bible, the serpent tempts Eve, leading to the original sin. But the Quran alters the story. It is Satan, not the serpent, who tempts Adam and Eve. After they repent, God forgives them, rejecting the concept of original sin. The Bible provides detailed accounts of Noah's Ark, while the Quran focuses instead on the moral lessons, the rejection of Noah's message by his people leading to their destruction. In the Bible, Abraham is tested to sacrifice Isaac. However, in the Quran, the son's name is left unspecified, focusing on Abraham and his son's obedience to God, shifting the focus from lineage to obedience. The Bible describes Jesus as the Son of God, crucified and resurrected, while the Quran presents him as a prophet, denying both his crucifixion and divinity, marking a major theological division. These examples illustrate how the Quran offers modifications or reinterpretations of biblical stories, adding new layers of meaning and theological insight. These differences are not just stylistic. They reflect deeper theological distinctions that shape the understanding of key figures in both texts. AI confirms that these differences are intentional and meaningful, offering a glimpse into the Quran's independent worldview. Rather than copying the Bible, the Quran reinterprets biblical stories, often refining and developing them. This suggests a conscious effort to establish its own theological identity, as seen in the emphasis on monotheism, prophets, and moral integrity. The Quran rejects the idea of God having partners or offspring, which contrasts with Christian beliefs like the Trinity. The prophets in the Quran, particularly Jesus, are presented without divine attributes, which is different from their portrayal in the Bible. Additionally, AI highlights how the Quran presents prophets as ethical role models, unlike their counterparts in the Bible, who often show more flaws. This emphasizes the Quran's goal of presenting prophets as ideal human figures, offering moral guidance and leadership for humanity. These differences show that the Quran presents an independent theological framework rather than following the biblical stories. The Bible, written over centuries by multiple authors in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, presents a variety of literary styles and narrative techniques. The Quran, on the other hand, was revealed over 23 years in classical Arabic and is characterized by remarkable consistency in tone, structure, and linguistic eloquence. The rhythm, style, and direct address to the audience in the Quran distinguish it from the biblical stories, which are often historical or poetic. AI analysis highlights the unique composition of the Quran, which does not imitate biblical narrative techniques but forms its own direct and motivational voice. The structure of the Quran is also highly unique. Unlike the Bible, which follows a basic chronological order, the Quran was revealed over 23 years and addresses a wide range of topics such as legal rulings, spiritual guidance, and stories, but presented in a non-linear way. The layered, interwoven structure of the Quran contrasts with the chronological narrative of the Bible, and AI analysis underscores its originality. This calls into question the idea that the Quran could have been copied, emphasizing its distinctive theological and literary style. One factor often overlooked in this debate is the context in which the Quran was revealed. During the life of Muhammad, PBUH, there was no Arabic translation of the Bible, and it was known that he was illiterate, as affirmed by the Quran itself. AI analysis confirms that access to the Bible was likely limited to oral stories passed around in the Arabian Peninsula. However, the Quran's deep engagement with these stories reflects a significant theological depth, offering interpretations that go beyond what would be expected from mere oral transmission. This strengthens the conclusion that the Quran was not copied, but revealed independently. The Quran's descriptions of natural phenomena, particularly human development and cosmology, often align with modern scientific understanding. While the Bible includes references to the natural world, these reflect the cosmology of the time, including geocentric views that were later surpassed by modern science. The more advanced descriptions in the Quran, especially in fields like embryology and cosmology, are difficult to attribute to the scientific knowledge of Muhammad's time. AI analysis shows that the Bible reflects ancient knowledge, while the Quran contains details that align with discoveries made centuries later. This is not to dismiss the Bible, but it shows that the Quran presents information not found in the Bible. AI confirms that these unique descriptions could not have been copied from earlier sources. To answer the central question, could the Quran have been copied from the Bible? Based on the evidence gathered, here's how AI analyzes the data: linguistic interpretation, the renewed meanings of shared stories, the unique structure of the Quran, and the historical context in which it was revealed. All of these factors point to the Quran as a theologically and literarily independent text. By putting all these elements together, it is clear that the Quran is not a copy of the Bible, but a distinct book with its own cultural and religious influence. So, what do we conclude from this analysis? Based on the AI evaluation, we conclude that the Quran is not a copy of the Bible, but an independent text offering theological and literary insights that are distinct. While we observe some similarities in terms of shared historical stories and moral teachings, these are often reinterpreted or placed in a completely different context. AI analysis supports this conclusion by highlighting the Quran's clear distinction from the Bible and its offering of innovative reinterpretations and new meanings, establishing its own vision of the world.